tightening of security measures in the country in the face of continuing protest. The military takeover has sparked the biggest demonstrations seen in Myanmar in more than a decade. The lawyer for Aung San Suu Kyi says she was being held for a further 2 days. She had been due to be released today. More troops have been deployed in response to the mass demonstrations. Many drivers expressed their anger by beeping their horns. Western embassies in Myanmar have called on the country's military to refrain from violence against demonstrators and civilians. This all comes after reports security forces opened fire to disperse a protest. The BBC's Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head has the latest on the week ahead for the civil disobedience movement.
Well, I think we'll see this week will be different from the previous week. The first 2 weeks after the coup, we saw very rapid growth of what became a sort of nationwide civil disobedience movement, which will be different from the previous week. But the first 2 weeks after the coup, we saw very rapid growth of what became a sort of nationwide civil disobedience movement, with protests in every shape and form all across the country that were essentially blocked at certain places by police, occasionally opening fire, as we know, but mostly just letting them run. The presence of these armoured vehicles and a lot of soldiers, and these are soldiers from combat units, units with, frankly, well-deserved reputations for real brutality, I think will change the tone a lot. You know, the internet blackout last night was interesting. There was 8 hours. And it really frightened people. We saw the scenes that, as you mentioned, the troops opening fire. That was in Myitkyina up in Kachin State. They used a lot of gunfire. Now, it might all have been into the air, but it was absolutely terrifying for the people there. Automatic weapons fire in the dark of night to disperse people who are out there banging their pots and pans. Then the internet blackout. Everyone feared this would either herald a mass arrests or some other kinds of operations. People are sort of picking up from this morning. There doesn't appear to have been a lot that's happened, although there are rumours. I say just rumours that perhaps the Burmese authorities are trying to install some kind of great Chinese-style internet firewall, but I think it's hard to put any flesh on those. And now the presence of these troops. People are out protesting today. They're trying to put up barricades. They're standing in front of government buildings trying to persuade civil servants to join this civil disobedience movement. But the troops are out there also dismantling some barricades, blocking them in some areas. You know, people know what's coming. Eventually, if people mobilise as they did last week, and you've got that many soldiers from these units on the streets, everyone knows the risk of bloodshed is much, much higher.
Well, I'm joined now by Alp Toker from the London-based internet monitoring firm Netblocks. Thank you so much for joining us here on BBC World. Let me ask you, first of all, what more do we know about these internet blackouts?
The internet blackouts we're seeing that they are escalating in intensity. There was the blackout that we showed this morning between 1 a.m. and 9 a.m. local time, so that's 8 hours during which the public weren't able to communicate with each other or with the outside world. This really has been turning into a form of information warfare. People are terrified. They were terrified before, and now definitely people know what's going on and they fear the worst, and it has the effect of keeping people indoors and not pushing back against the coup. Perhaps they should be what they want to be.
On a practical level, how does a country itself cope with an internet blackout? Because, you know, internet is used for so many things, for business transactions, for payments, even for government. How does a country cope in that way?
Everything comes to a standstill, especially when there's already a transition or there's a political crisis. It screams. It out of fear. It prevents business from operating. It stops political course. It really puts a spanner in the works. And this has meant that also to track what's going on. So that support network isn't there. Civil society is heavily impacted. The systems aren't functioning, and these are the institutions that should be present to support